All right, we made it to the last page of our Making Connections lab, and this is doing a summary of your experiment that we did with the clothespin as a class. So you have to write a paragraph that's titled for discussion and conclusions, and I put some hints on the side so that you know what to talk about. So this one will relate back to your hypothesis. Your hypothesis goes way back. You should have written it here, but originally it kind of stems back to this part. You picked student A or student B. So remember which one you picked. That's what you should have had in your hypothesis. If a student exercises first, then they'll be able to squeeze a clothespin better. Or if a student rests first, then they should be able to squeeze a clothespin faster. And so going back to your hypothesis, you want to discuss whether your data supports or does not support it. You have to talk about the actual evidence, and that's coming from here, from this data table. You can say, well, group A, they did 30 seconds of exercise and they had a higher squeezing rate, or, you have to explain with details about your data. So you're going to example here how you can start your paragraph. I accept or I do not accept my original hypothesis, which stated if you rest before squeezing a clothespin, then you can squeeze it more times in a minute. Or you would put in this blank, if you exercise before squeezing a clothespin, then you can squeeze it more times in a minute because my data showed, and then you would explain what your data showed. And I can't even give you a hint on that because it's different every year that we do this. So that's how you want to answer the discussion and conclusions question. Suggestions for improvement. So how do we want to improve this experiment the next time that it gets done? So you want to discuss any possible sources of error that made your data less reliable. Maybe you were tired, like you just got up in the morning, or maybe you didn't eat breakfast, or, think about any sources of error. And controlling variables, maybe you lost count or you dropped the clothespin. Those are other sources of error. The discussion of controlling variables when the experiment involves humans. We don't know what all of the other students were doing. Did they count reliably? Did they do their experiment with accuracy, or did they get lazy about it? So we can't control that. And then state 3 additional variables that may have influenced the outcome of your experiment. What else did you not think about as controlling? Maybe the temperature of the room, or how much water you drank, or who knows. 3 variables that could have had an effect on your clothespin outcome. And then the last question, suggestions for further research. What additional questions could we investigate with the activity? So nearly all experiments produce new questions that could be answered with new investigations. You're going to include 2 suggestions for other investigations that could be done, or additional data that needs to be collected to further support your findings. Or you could answer some new questions that maybe came up during the experiment. So you're writing a few things in here about how you could do this experiment but better, or a different version of this experiment. Maybe you want to change the type of exercise that people do or something. So that I will leave up to you for figuring those out. But that is going to be the end of our experiment. As long as you have everything filled in on all of the different pages, you can submit this document, and then I can begin grading them. Good job, everybody.